Mark Zuckerberg is announcing some new changes for Meta, calling the recent elections a cultural tipping point towards prioritizing free speech. So this morning, he's announcing that Meta, which of course owns Facebook and Instagram, will move away from the independent, nonpartisan fact-checking they've had in place since after the 2016 election. Instead, he says they will rely on community notes. In other words, users putting out context. This is similar to what X is doing. Zuckerberg says Meta's complex moderation system makes too many mistakes with too much censorship. Meta also plans to get rid of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender and move their content moderation team from California to Texas, among other things, all essentially loosening up the way that Facebook moderates its content. This is all happening less than 2 weeks before President-elect Trump is sworn in, and as Zuckerberg and some of these other tech titans look to be making inroads with the incoming administration. After Mr. Trump's victory in November, Zuckerberg traveled to Mar-a-Lago. His company also donated about $1 million to the Trump Inaugural Fund. Keep in mind the backdrop here, right? Over the next 4 years, the Trump administration will set federal policy in areas like AI and antitrust that are really important to Meta and some of these other big tech companies, too.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, I'm about to throw up. I'm about to vomit from all the W's that we have been eating lately, guys. I'm telling you. I am getting so full off of these W's, I just can't handle it anymore. I'm getting fat. I'm getting obese, okay, from all these W's that we've been eating lately. Okay, I've never had so many W's in such a short period of time. I might have to get on the Ozempic, okay? I'm getting fat. I'm not liking what I'm seeing in the mirror. But I'm loving it, though. I'm just loving it. The W's just taste so good, okay? We about to eat another W here today. And drink some liberal tears as well, too. I'm getting full off of that. We got a salt mine of liberal tears, okay, to talk about. As UFC head Dana White joins the Meta board, okay? Mark Zuckerberg is essentially reshaping his company, right? He's reshaping Facebook, Meta, Instagram, that has been known for censorship, okay? And the woke revolutionaries, they're boohoo whining and crying about this, right? They're upset, they're mad because Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, has decided that, you know what, hey, we're going to embrace free speech.
So unsurprising, but still concerning news. Mark Zuckerberg has decided that Meta will undergo some major policy changes. These policy changes will essentially make Meta platforms much more like X. And as a reminder, Meta platforms include Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. So right now the plan is that moderators are going to be removed from these platforms, and any moderators that do exist are going to be living in Texas, a traditionally conservative state. We can expect community guidelines to be much more lax, meaning that all kinds of information can be out there, whether true or not. And allegedly Zuckerberg will be putting in some sort of community notes feature, much like X has. Zuckerberg will also be working with Donald Trump to, quote, end censorship completely, meaning that there will not be topic restrictions. Again, this is unsurprising news. We did expect to start seeing things like this, but it is very important now more than ever that you do your fact checking for yourself, because we won't have that anymore.
Mark Zuckerberg just made a big announcement that basically he's sold out. He more or less said that Meta platforms are turning into X platforms in terms of how they regulate content. Wonderful. Not only that, he's moving all of the content regulation side of the business. He's moving it out of California to Texas so that people aren't worried that it's bias, because if you're in California, then you must be biased. Oh God. So basically they're doing away with fact checking entirely. They're going to have community notes just like X. He basically said in the video that, you know, he took notes from Elon. It's a mess. This is really bad. Like, I already see some of the worst shit I've ever seen on the Meta platforms, and none of the right stuff gets taken down. I'll give you a perfect example. I saw a video on Facebook of the New Orleans tragedy, no censor, no nothing. Like, it came up in my feed without my consent. I saw all the blood. I saw the bodies that were... It was awful. It was one of the most horrible videos I've ever seen on the internet since you accidentally used to download really bad shit on LimeWire.
Implications of this policy change, to me, this is Mark Zuckerberg completing his total surrender to Donald Trump. Remember, a few weeks ago, Mark Zuckerberg met with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, then proceeded to have Meta donate $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural fund, and then replaced Meta's global policy chief, who was a liberal, with a Republican. So it's no coincidence that after all of that, Mark Zuckerberg has decided to now remove fact-checking from the website, which obviously serves to benefit Donald Trump, a man who spread 30,000 plus lies during his first term and who relied on lies and disinformation to win again in 2024. So yeah, Meta just completely surrendered to Donald Trump.
As you guys know, Mark Zuckerberg has been cozying up to Trump, like a lot of the tech billionaires, because they know that ultimately at the end of the day, it's just good for business, right? It's good for business to be on the right side of history, right? To be on the right side of what the American people want, right? And the last 4 years have shown us that the American people don't like censorship. And also, censorship doesn't really work, okay? Because what you're really doing is that you're not fact checking, you're propaganda checking. We know that the things that these people claim are facts are not actual facts. They're just whatever the liberal media wants people to believe at the time, right? To benefit the Democrat Party. And that just hasn't worked out very well for a lot of these platforms. And Elon Musk, his platform X, has kind of created a roadmap for how fact checking can work, right? Just using the community notes model. And Zuck has picked up on that, okay? And liberals, they're upset. They're boohoo-whining and crying because they're going to be less censorship on Instagram and Facebook, right? They're boohoo-whining and crying over less censorship. It just shows you how authoritarian these people are, right? How they don't believe that conversational political debate is fair unless it is rigged in their favor, right? If it's not rigged in their favor with bogus fact check, then it's a hate platform, right? I just find it to be hilarious because liberals have been trying to exodus X, okay, and going to other platforms where there's a lot more censorship, but there you have Facebook and Instagram coming out and saying, nah, we're going to have less censorship because it just didn't work out that well for us the past 4 years or so. So I want to react to Mark Zuckerberg and what he actually has to say about the changes that are happening on the Meta platforms. And I just want you guys to notice. Look at our boy Zuck, okay? Look at Zuck. Zuck got a full head of hair, right? He look healthy. He done got bigger. He got a little chain on, a nice shirt, got some swag going, okay? He got a nice little watch. Hey, our boy Zuck, clearly he has had an increase in his testosterone, right? His testosterone levels have went up, and therefore he's now thinking clearly, okay? He's become more pro-Trump, more pro-freedom as a result of an increase in testosterone. I'm telling you guys, that is the core issue with men in our society. It has to be testosterone levels. You know, when you're one of these computer geeks and you sitting down at the computer desk all day, right? You're not exercising, you're not doing anything. Yeah, I mean, you probably are, lowering your testosterone levels just from a lack of activity, lifting weights, eating right and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you see Mark Zuckerberg, who I would define as a computer nerd. He's doing jujitsu, he's getting big, lifting weights. Now all of a sudden, this dude has had a change of heart, right? He got some swag. He looking better. Like, it's like, wow. Okay, it's just crazy how people start to think straight when they, actually start acting like men, right? They start doing activities that positively affect testosterone. So, without further ado, let's get into what Zuck actually has to say.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
AKA, the people are not on our side when it comes to censoring speech, right? The people don't like us censoring speech, and that's not good for our bottom line. So again, this is why we're changing, right? That's essentially what he's saying, okay? The election essentially proved that, hey, this stuff doesn't work, okay? That people don't like this.
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
Yeah, what he's saying is that it's not popular to censor people for making very, very, very basic statements that are just grounded in biological fact, and how biological girls should not be forced to compete against biological boys in sports, okay? That is not a statement of hate and bigotry, or that, you know, men and women are different, these type of things. Again, that's not hate and bigotry. These are just facts, okay? Like, for example, also talking about illegal immigration, how illegal immigration negatively affects this country, and that you do have illegal immigrants committing crimes in this country, okay, causing destruction and chaos. Again, these are just facts, okay? But, you know, on some of these platforms, like Blue Sky, right, whatever it's called, Blue Trees, they claim that this is hate, right? It's hateful to state these types of basic facts. It shows you how fringe the far left has become. And Democrat Party as well, too, because the Democrat Party is far left. Okay, they become fringe.
So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
AKA less liberals, right? Less liberals. Okay, and again, a lot of people find this to be controversial. Oh, well, he's just moving it to a conservative state. No. Texas is more ideologically diverse than California. right? And this is exactly why the federal government also should move out a bunch of these agencies to red states as well too, because you get more ideological diversity, right? You don't get people that are of the same political opinions and ideology working all at the same company, right? Or entity or government institution. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that you're seeing a lot of these businesses move out of California and move to Texas. And a lot of it does have to do with the fact that, hey, we want more ideological diversity within our organization. Okay. And when you're talking about censorship and stuff like that, when you're hiring people in California to do the job of censorship and content moderation, yeah, you're going to get a lot of left-wing bias, right? And that is the problem with a lot of these platforms. They're clearly biased in favor of the left and their narrative.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
Wow. Wow. I'm not saying that Zuck is 100% sincere in what he's doing, right? Because again, a lot of these guys, they're just doing it for money. They're doing it for profit, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, that is the function of these companies. But isn't it amazing how the world starts to heal? And Trump is not even in office yet, right? The day after Trump got elected, everything just started to get better in the world. Ain't it crazy how that works? That's what happens when you have strong leadership in the White House, running the most powerful country in the world, right? Things just tend to get better. And when you have weak leadership, like what we've had the last 4 years, things just tend to get worse. I don't think it's a coincidence, man. And I've talked about this before, okay? Trump just came out with a press conference where he made a major announcement, probably one of the most significant announcements that he's made in a while, in which he is announcing an investment in data centers that will be built in primarily red states, okay? This is going to bring a ton of jobs. Now, I've talked about this before, how important data centers are to American progress and growth, okay? Yeah, projects like this are going to bring a ton of jobs to conservative states and red states in this country. Take a look.
And I'm thrilled to announce today that DMAC will be investing at least $20 billion over a very short period of time into the United States, and they may go double or even somewhat more than double that amount of money. It's a great thing, and I believe he will say that he's doing it because of the fact that he was very inspired by the election. They wouldn't do it without that election. I can tell you a lot of people wouldn't. You saw last week where we have somebody who's going to go from $100 to $200 billion. And we have many other people, and we'll be bringing some of them out. Some of them like to do it somewhat more quietly, and some don't. And they feel so strongly about the country that they want to let people know about it. But it's an honor to have such a great investor investing in our country. The investment will support massive new data centers across the Midwest, the Sun Belt area, and also to keep America on the cutting edge of technology and artificial intelligence. He's very big into the data centers, and that's going to be a very hot item in the coming years, as you know, with AI in particular. The first phase of the project will be in Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana.
I know some people may feel uncomfortable with, Trump and how these big tech people are in his circle and stuff like that. But ultimately, I mean, they influence each other, right? And, it's up to the people to hold Trump accountable and to hold these platforms accountable as well, too. But what you can see here is the influence of Trump on big tech, right? And the fact is that now you have Facebook. At least they're claiming that they are going in a direction where they're going to censor less. We will see exactly how this works out in practice. But regardless, bringing Dana White on and bringing other people who are ideologically different from those who are currently running the company, bringing them on board to help is a sign that, hey, this is sincere, that you're going to see real changes happen as a result of Mark Zuckerberg and others working with the Trump administration. And it is something that people should be happy to see overall, because this is what we wanted, right? We wanted these platforms to become more free speech friendly, and this is what's happening, right? So, this is a very interesting development. I just find it to be hilarious how liberals and the mainstream liberal media as well, too, they'll be boohoo-whining and crying about this. They cheer on censorship, right? They're showing you exactly what they believe in. They are the authoritarians, right? The authoritarians in this country are the left. Just look at their reaction to things like this. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.